Hey y'all, get ready with me, makeup edition. So first I start off with my primer and I put it in the areas that I know I normally get really oily in, and then I make sure to just warm it up into my skin, making sure it's really set in. Then I go in with my eyebrow pencils by Benefit, and I start off really outlining my eyebrows, right? And just really taking my time starting from the beginning of my eyebrow and just really slightly fluffing that out to the end. And then I just go in and I just follow each and every hair stroke. And you don't want to press too hard with your pencil because then it'll really be dark. So I try to be very light, and then I brush it up with my brush just to make sure everything just looks nice and really just blend it in, because like I personally like a more natural look, and yeah, that doesn't work if you put too hard. Then I go in my brow gel, and with that also you want to be very light with it, because if you put too much of the gel it will make your eyebrow really hard, and you don't want a hard eyebrow. So just be very gentle with that as well. And also follow the way you want your eyebrow to be set, because once it's set, it's done. Then I'll go in with my concealer and I use this flat brush and I take a tiny bit just to go under and clean up my eyebrow, like any like mishaps I may have had, and also just to make it look a bit more defined, because I don't know, it just looks much better when you do so. And then I make sure to pat it out and blend it with my finger. Then I go in with my Danessa Merrick's Universal Balm. Some people like to treat it as another primer, which I do too. It's just a really good blurring balm, and I like to double up on blurring any imperfections I may have. Then once I'm done with that, I then go in with the number 8. Now that one's more for my skin tone, is more tinted and colored for me. And a little goes a long way. Yes, it may seem like I'm putting a lot, but trust me, that is not a lot. Okay, it's not a lot. And once I do that, I then blot it in with the brush. I don't like to actually brush it on because it's going to leave a bit of a streak, especially with that brush that I'm using. And the brush that I chose was because I really was on a tight schedule. And then I just go in to make sure it's all blended very well with my wet sponge. You can wet your sponge with a setting spray. Like I said, because of time basis, I didn't have a chance to. So you see me keep going in and out because I wanted to make sure I looked really good. Then I went in and put my concealer on my eyelid as a primer. And I just used that same beauty blender and blotted it in. Then I go in with my Better Than Chocolate palette. And I chose a tone that was more like closer to my skin tone, and I patted it in, like really took a good amount of that color and patted it in over my whole lid. Then once I did that, I went for a more darker color and I started in my outer corner and did swirls. As you can see, I'm like swirling into my crease. Okay, so I follow the shape of the way like my eyes like go upward, and I did nice curls into my crease. Then I took a lighter shimmery shade and I started that from my inner corner all the way to basically the middle part of my eyelid, just to give it like a nice shimmer. And then I took that same shimmer and put that right at the arch of my eyebrow, like under the arch of my eyebrow, just to give it that cute little highlight, which I really love. Like it really made the look for me. And once I was done with that, I then decided to go in with the brown liner that I got from Pat McGrath. And I basically looked at the bottom part of my eyelid to connect from the, like to start an angle at the top. And then I went in with my bottom waterline and then into my upper waterline. And then once I was done with that, I then went in with my concealer, and I don't use a lot under my eyes, but I make sure that I put just enough, and then I let that sit for a little bit. So while I'm letting that sit, I'm going to go in with my mascara. And that mascara, you don't want to put too much because it's called Magic Extensions by MAC. And it has actual like lash extensions added on as you brush up. So yeah, you don't want too much. Now that I let my concealer sit for a bit, I then blend that out going upwards, clean up any excess eyeshadow that I have left over and making sure that is good to go and really set in. Then after I finish with that, I then decided let me go in with my setting powder. Now the brush I'm using, like I said, time purpose, I pat that in, and I'm not gonna have the setting powder sit too long under my eye. I'm not trying to have myself bake. I'm basically putting under it to make sure it's all good to go. And then after that, I take my big brush and I just brush it off. Then I take a little bit more of that setting powder and I brush it all over my face. You see that? All over my face. Like, I have no time to play games. I got to go. I really got to go. Now that I'm done with that, I then went back in with the dark color that I used for my crease, and I just basically put it around my bottom lash area, and then I took that same lighter color and put that just a slight bit just to make it really glow. Now I'm taking a nice brown liner that I got from MAC called Chestnut, and I like to personally put a good amount of the brown liner on my lip because I want like a nice ombre look. Then I went in with my Hodgepodge, blend that out real quick, and then I use Buxom lip gloss that I have called White Russian, and then Anastasia Beverly Hills Clear Gloss to top it off. And then, so the look is basically done. Now you put some setting spray it, but make sure you dry it because you don't want to have like any wet spots once you put on your fixing spray. And this fixing spray, y'all, is no joke. Like, it does what it needs to do, and it's strong as hell. Like, your girl was choking on that. And yeah, so here it is. You know, basically that's the finished look. I had to comb out my hair because your girl was basically low on time, but I think I did that. So thank you for watching. See you next